rounds. Because I was keen to find out if anyone had the same kind of deal that we had, 3 quick games like that in quick succession. So yeah, I did want to kind of have a look into it, but and it is what it is. We knew what it was. The club, the boys just got on with it. We just got on with it. But that was always going to be a hard grind, and
Those,
like
from Anzac round to now.
yeah, yeah, it was no, that was a hard grind, and I'm glad we're through it now. Glad the boys have got there another 5 days before they play. So it's a well earned break, hard earned. Hopefully we can, these key personnel hopefully coming back. But even that, the core of the team, I thought we actually played pretty well. We were in that game, and the Panthers aren't the team that they were last year or even the year before. They were struggling, bro, and I really felt that second half they weren't as clinical as they usually were, and they were the amount of times they dropped the ball, they fumbled, and it was just like, yeah. So I thought we were well in the competition. Yeah, shitty calls, but in regards to like how we played, I thought we didn't do too bad.
Yeah, like I said, no magic overall, but I think it was like 10 minutes before that short ball from Tohu to Fanua Blake, and he just looked like he just smashed a massive hole. There's just no one there.
And that it was almost like a wake up call for the Panthers, because they were sliding, but it was the perfect pass. And the gap just happened to be there, and he just, made the most of it. It was but it was a shame too, because we literally spent the next 70 minutes scoreless. We had our opportunities. Ed pulls off that massive hit, but when you see the replays and you see the knee clash, and there's no knowing how bad it was until he was gone, till he limped off. But it begged the question, why did he stay on for so long? They scored because he got caught out. But then to see him on the sideline at halftime was just like, that was a shame, because Kossi's been playing well. He's you can tell as a player his confidence is building. And that was a choice hit. It was just a real shame to see him get up limping. But then Crichton came back and put a couple of hits on himself. He wipes out Walker, and I can't remember who else. And it's just like, as a spectacle, it was kind of like, this is actually quite an entertaining game. The hits were coming in from both sides, and as a spectacle, I didn't think it was too bad. Yeah.
It was a magical spectacle. But at the same time, like I say, week in, week out, we have to put this into perspective, right? With 5 wins from 10, sitting 11th, just outside the top 8. We've taken these teams pretty much, to the sword, right? Storm, Roosters, and Panthers. Roosters only put 14 on us. Okay, we were scoreless. Previous years they might have put 40 on us. Storm.
Oh yeah.
Storm would put 50 on us last year.
Yeah.
And these top teams aren't. Maybe they're just not playing as well as they have in the past. Like you say, with the Panthers, it's not the same team.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely not the same. And I mean, whether or not clubs are prepping for Origin and they're going to be losing players and taking all that into consideration, you've got to have the right players coming in to fill those voids. And in a different circumstance with a possibly different ref, the results could have definitely gone our way. Could have, would have, should have, but yeah.
And I'm sure whoever's watching has seen the news. The CEO of One NZ has come out, and he's come out swinging. I'm always, whenever I see things like that, I think, man, you really need to stay off your phone when you're watching the game. You really need to stay off social media when you're watching the game. But it's the same comments from everybody. It's the inconsistencies, and you know, it's not just us. I know other teams out there are getting these inconsistent calls from these referees. We had a referee on the other week, and he was like, you know, the bunker's job is to make that referee's job a lot easier. You know, they're the ones that can actually review things and tell the referee. But it seems like some things they're going to call, and other things they're just like not even going to review it.
Yeah, and it's like, because I'd seen the Graham Ellerslie interview he done tonight, and he seemed a bit hot under the collar as well because he got called out by Jason Paris, and it's like some of his comments were interesting too. So you know, he's the boss. He's got to defend his refs. Completely understand that, but when he's talking about let's stick to the facts, it's like, are you sure you want to go there? Because we have the hard facts. You know, you only have to review what's been going on, and the facts are right in front of you. So yeah, he was. Initially, when I heard that Jason Paris jumped on, I just honestly, bro, I just thought it's like a PR stunt. You know, he's trying to get more publicity for 1NZ, whatever. And I just thought, nah, what does this guy know? But then I seen an interview of him this morning, and he's a longtime fan. And I was just like, oh, wow, okay. And he actually tunes in and he watches the games. And so it was, yeah, that was, so he's not just jumped on because he's seen and read comments. You know, he's actually seen the game, seen how we've played for the last couple of years, and it's just like, okay, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And good on him, you know, in his position. Yeah, no doubt he'll probably get a fine or whatever, get told off.
Well, I read on Fox today, it was just like NRL are reviewing it, but what are they going to review? You know, what have you got to? You should have been reviewing something else on the field. But in all seriousness, what are you going to review? This is just some dude. I know other coaches in the past have been fined $20,000, you know, for speaking out against $25,000 for speaking out against referees. But what are they going to send an invoice into the? You know, there is limits to who they can fight. Like if I say something about them, are they going to send me an invoice, which I'm not going to pay? You know, like reviewing what?
Yeah, and Sticky's Ricky Stewart. He's classic. You know, you can almost guarantee once a year he'll be paying a fine because he's that passionate. You know, and in those particular games where they've only just lost or bad calls, whatever, and he'll just speak his mind. You know, and it's like, well, as the coach, because even Webby at the post match interview. And the journos are asking the same questions again about the refs and what do you think, and he's the diplomat, eh? You know, he's just kind of, well, if you guys are happy to pay for the fine, you know, you pull your money together, and yes, it is. I'll say what you want me to say, but yeah, it's it is what it is, because at the end of the day, it's their comp, and we can cry wolf as much as we want. But they run the show, you know, and I don't know how you'd go about trying to remedy that. You know, you potentially try and get other clubs that have been treated the same way with the same treatment, getting them, you know, get a little collective going. I don't know how much luck you'd have with that. And actually, before I forget, bro, I think it was, so when the Cowboys won the grand final, I think it was 2015, when they played the Broncos and won. The 4 years prior, because they made the playoffs, and every single year they had a shitty call that cost them making it into the finals every year, and it was like, mate, that's pretty rat shit. But then they made the GF 2015 and won it, you know, and it's kind of like, so what did they do to get past? You know, because they complained about it as well, and they were trying to highlight stuff and make points about it, but the NRL, you know, pretty much just snobbed them. You know, you just got to suck it up. So part of me is like, well, is that the case here? Do we just have to suck it up and get on with it?
You know, someone made a very interesting comment, right? Players do something, you know, players are held to account. You know, if they do something dumb, or they punch someone in the face, there's consequences. If they're not playing well, we need to sort that out. Otherwise, they're not going to be playing for the next, for the next game. But it seems like when the officials are not officiating right, there doesn't seem to be any. Doesn't seem like do they get fined $20,000 for doing dumb things over and over again, or it doesn't seem to be. There seems to be a bit of a lack of accountability.
Yeah, like that Ellerslie said tonight that when a ref has a bad game and they've reviewed it, they'll get dropped. And then part of me is like, so is that the only punishment? And it's not. Yeah. I guess punishment's not the right word, but there has to be some sort of consequence. Do they have fines? Do refs get fines? And should they get fined? It's like, who adjudicates that side of it? And then, I mean, if you go down that territory, you'd probably start losing a whole lot of refs because no one will want a ref. So, yeah.
No, that's the thing that Vigo said last week, right? He's just like, you need to sort this out so that reffing becomes something that people want to do. Because at the moment, it's something that people do not want to be. Like, why would you want to go and put yourself in that situation? And it's scaring away a lot of people from reffing. I mean, even I go to my son's under 10s games, right? And why would you want to be a ref at an under 10s or an under 8s game a lot of the time? Because there's parents and everyone screaming at you from the side.
Yeah.
So, they've got to, respect to those refs that are doing the mahi out there, like I said last week as well. But can we just get some consistency, not just for us, but for other teams out there as well?
Yeah, the accountability side of it is a biggie. How the NRL go around, get around addressing that? Because listening to Ellerslie tonight, he was pretty much he was on the defense. And he got, he didn't like what Paris had to say. And defending his refs, doing his job, and that's expected. But even what Jason said this morning, can we just have a fair process in regards to just take all the feeling out of it, review the data, and if we're wrong, then I'll shut up. That's what he was saying this morning. And it's like, but follow through with it. Follow through with the process and see where it takes you, kind of thing. My suspicion is that the NRL have already made those decisions already, and it's like you can argue your point as much as you want. But they've already made their minds up, and they'll just keep fobbing it off. That's just what I think.
What's your thoughts on this, bro? Whenever you watch like a sporting game, any kind of sport, and you don't even notice the ref on the field because the officiating is just, they're not the main center of the thing, right? It's the two teams going at it, and this guy gets pinged for this and that guy gets pinged for that, but it's just a free flowing game. And you look back at it and go, man, it was an amazing game. A lot of games like that, you don't actually notice the guy even with the bloody whistle. Because he's just there calling it how it is. But it seems like, and I don't know if this is just a Warriors thing, but anyone else watching this who is from another team can weigh in, but it just seems like we play a team, but we always got to have some sort of complaint. I'd love to finish watching a game and sit back and go, that was an amazing game and the ref did amazing and we've got nothing to complain about.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. I can only like the classic example for me is someone like Bill Harrigan. Back in the day when he was, he was a bit of a celebrity, but he let games flow. Whether it was a NRL game, state origin or test match, he was, he just go off it. But I think he was he had a bit of personality to him as well. So he understood the game, and when you just don't see that nowadays. Well, not with the refs. The refs are quite almost. There used to be quite a close relationship between the players and the refs, and I think a prime example of that is someone like Cameron Smith, but he was always kind of in their ear and just kind of, not that he was dictating, but he'd already built that relationship with the refs, so he's already established that. But a lot of the refs nowadays, it's almost like they've been given a set of rules, and this is exactly what you have to stick to, and it's like, that because you're right. When you know it's a good game when the ref just doesn't highlight, you don't even notice him. He's just calling final, whatever. Um, but haven't in all honesty, and I don't know what the Super League's like. But the NRL refs are they're like little robots at the moment. They just do as they're told. So, and again, kind of like what you were saying before, man, it would be being a ref, knowing that half the crowd are for you and half of them aren't, and then they'll definitely let you know about it as soon as you make a mistake for 80 minutes. It's like, you might pass on that job. Yeah,
well,
I wouldn't.
Let's look over to the other code, right? Union. How many times do you hear in the news that these fans are so angry? When was the last time you saw Blues fans or, I don't know, Waratahs fans blowing up about the inconsistent refereeing over in that code? I don't hear it. Maybe I need to read more about it, but I don't hear other codes blowing up about refs as much as not just our team, but this teams in the NRL are blowing up about refs.
Yeah, interesting you should say that, right? Because my partner's dad is a huge All Blacks fan, and he was saying like Super Rugby, Test matches, they're pretty much being, it's real stop start, and like the officiating side of it is killing the game, and it's just like, oh wow, like I don't even bother watching rugby anymore. I used to love watching Super 12 games like back in the day, but like it's just not even worth watching anymore. But it was just an interesting insight from a guy that's followed rugby most of his life, and just he was like, "No, bro, it's killing us. It's killing the game. It's the fans can't be bothered." And Paul was actually saying to me that it's the women's game that's saving rugby in New Zealand,
Wow.
and in other countries, and it's just like, wow, really? And I mean, that's not to sound surprised, because I'm not trying to put it down or anything. It's just like, mate, that's awesome. But the comment Paul made was like, the women's rugby is almost like they're playing the way we used to play 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it's highly entertaining, and it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting comment.
Yeah, because like it just seems every week in this competition, in NRL every single week. And like I said, I'm going to carry on saying this because I don't want everyone out there to think that it's just us moaning, because I know it's other fans as well. They're moaning about the same things. It's just those inconsistencies. But what about the other code? How come we're not hearing that happening over there? And you're absolutely right. I went to a Blues game with my boy last year, or was the year before? But yeah, it's definitely stop start. And when I lived up in England and I watched those types of matches up there in the Northern Hemisphere, it's very stop start, very slow.
Oh well.
Yeah, very slow, but that's just kind of their way of playing, I suppose. Maybe their style, and still entertaining. It's just different types of entertaining. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the league up there is pretty much the same as well. I think it's not as fast as this game.
Yeah, I think the NRL the NRL have been slow to make changes. Like there's been changes that they've had to make, like the shoulder charges, taking those out, the player safety side of it. Absolutely, yeah. The shoulder charges, back in the day, the chicken wing tackles, concussion calls, having that whole HIA system in place, and it's all about player safety. But I've noticed, bro, with like last year's Origin, when the Origin series kicked off, it's almost like they revert back to the refs will let shit slide, and the refs will kind of let players get away with a little bit more than what they usually do in a NRL match, and it's kind of like, mate, that's a double standard, man. Hardcore double standard, because if you're gonna do it for Origin, just let it go for the season. Don't keep pulling up the very same players. that are playing interstate, whatever. Test matches are like that. There's probably a little bit more freedom with test matches. But then you've got international refs, or the neutral refs, and they come in, but the neutral refs are more inclined to let the game just flow, get into a flow, and do their job and step in when they need to. But it really feels like the NRL are they're slow to change, but they are. Sometimes it feels like that's intentional because you still got a package that you want to present that's highly entertaining. And the NRL is highly entertaining. There's no doubting that. Regardless of whether your team it's a win, lose or draw, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be an entertaining game. The Tigers got their second win, and it's like against
the Panthers.
Yeah. So so the Panthers and the Dragons, and it's just like that's the beauty of the NRL. Oh, any team can beat the top teams.
Totally. Yeah. It's a crazy season this season. It's like you say that any team can beat anyone. Cowboys got up against the Roosters.
Yeah, and that was. Did you see the Wairua Hargraves standoff? He was the young fella, Tunnel Brown, lined him up, gave him a stiff arm to the face, to the mush. And then Jared's up and he's like, I'm gonna crack you, G.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying it right in front of the ref, and it's just like, oh my goodness, he's definitely come down in his old age because Jared back in the day would have just got up swinging. so someone's had a word to him, and he's but yeah, that was quite hard catch because the young fella's just looking at him like, whatever, bro. So it was very much the old bull. This is the young bull, and just like, yeah. But to see them get up was just like, holy. Oh, I was gonna say too. Like back in the day when the Warriors, opposition teams, back in the day when if they played the Warriors one week, they would generally lose the next, because it was such a bruising encounter. And I was wondering if there was a bit of that in it too. Because the Cowboys were just all over them. I was kind of half cheering for them, but I like Jared and I like Cheese. And it's just like, oh well, next time, fellas.
What's not to like when they throw on those black jerseys, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro. Hard. The Kiwi contingent is it's pretty strong, and it's been building for a good almost decade. The amount of depth that we've got now is just like, mate, we haven't had this type of strength. Although we got knocked out last year in the semi. That game could have gone either way. But the fact that the Kiwis have got some real depth in key positions, it's like, no, we're looking good. We've definitely closed that gap. We've definitely closed that gap on the Kangaroos. The Kangaroos have always got this facade about them that they're just invincible now. But that's an Aussie way of thinking, When you break that down, and especially when the Kiwis start backing themselves, and the doubt starts to set in, then it's like, we got these fellas.
Would you say that Kangaroos' aura is, and I don't know if it's the same now, but you know how the All Blacks used to have that aura about them, that kind of facade about them, that they were just kind of unbeaten? Kangaroos still got that, eh?
Yeah, I think. Yep. They probably not as strong as what it used to be. Yeah, I mean, shucks. I started following the Kiwis back in the 80s, and those were the whipping years. We'd be lucky to win one game in every couple of years, and we'd get, when there were test matches, we'd just get smoked, and like the old Anzac Day test matches, it was just like, oh my goodness, we're just getting thrashed. But that for me all kind of instilled the whole, those boys are still fronting up for the Kiwis. They still wear their jersey of pride, and they play with passion, even if they are getting thrashed. But we've managed to close that gap. We've brought it so much closer, where it is actually more a level playing field. That aura that the Kangaroos used to have. They there's key players, and when they're on, they're on. But we've got our share of guns that pretty much match them if we're not better in those positions. But it's bringing them together on the day too. They click, and mate, the Kiwis can beat anyone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just putting it together on the day, and I suppose we've got to thank the NRL for having such depth, right? Depth across our team.
That's a double-edged sword, though, bro. And I've like, I'm not a huge Origin fan. End of the day, it's just Aussies bashing Aussies. But what they've actually done, my little conspiracy theory, they've, since the 80s, once Origin kicked off, and whether this was intentional or not, they've kept their top elite athletes at their absolute prime. So when the test match window opens, they're already battle hardened, whereas the Kiwis, the Poms, we don't have that window. We don't have those little in between test matches where we can keep our boys at the elite level.
We barely have any test matches as it is.
Yeah, and that's a real shame. I love Kiwi test matches. If we get a chance to go to them, I'll go to them. But it's I love it because it's the best of the NRL players, and back in the day when certain coaches would bring Super League players in, mate, it was just the best of the Kiwis, and it was like backyard footy. They just because the window that they have might only be a couple of weeks, whatever, but they just come together. It's that whole whakawhanaunga tanga, they come together and they know what they got to do. But it's almost like it's more about just getting together. It's that brotherhood, it's that working together. No, that they're going up against the best, but they're still gonna go out there and give them a crack, But yeah, I've always felt like the Origin just suits the Aussies. It doesn't suit anyone else. And when the test window opens and rolls around, they're already, they're battle fit. They're ready for it, And whereas we're almost running in cold. And I've never liked that. Yeah. And saying that, I'll back Queensland, mainly because of the two states. They were the first state to take Warriors players on board. New South Wales didn't want to borrow us, for a long time. But back in the day, like PJ Marsh, Campion, Lillyman, there was a few of them, but they, Queensland were happy as to have Warriors players put those jumpers on. Yeah, it's a funny one. So because of that, part of me's like, yep, hope Queensland, and then they went on that massive winning streak, and it was just like, part of me is like, yeah, good on them, but I kind of, I hang out more for test matches. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, bro. I mean, just coming back to just reading some news here, because I haven't caught up with the news all day, but Sifakula has been review committee. There's been no charge for his and someone made a comment. Someone made a comment on one of my videos. They said, and they're probably being a bit mean about this. They said it's pretty hard not to miss Cleary's chin anyway.
Yeah, and the reality was that was a really good hit. There were three of them in that tackle, but Cleary finished them off, and and Joshy took offense, but there was a good hit. Personally, I feel like, well, Cleary, you're still a piece of shit. You got one up on the brother. Good on you. But what Dimitri done, I actually thought was a good thing. That was almost a throwback to the old days when you see your mate, someone's trying to step to your mate, even though your mate was in the wrong. But Dimitri kind of was showing him, I got your back, bro. And I just thought, no, good on you, young fella. That's the one. But then he gets 10 minutes for a push on the face, and it's like, oh, really, ref? So, yeah.
Yeah, so when you break it down, we lost by 12 points. We had 2 sin bins, and we didn't have a winger. It's like,
mate, he. It's like, oh my goodness. How do you balance out that the injury toll? How do you?
Well, let's talk about that, man, because there's murmurs. Hey, there's social media murmurs around Metcalf potentially coming in for the Doggies game, and Mitchell Barnett maybe coming back, but I don't know too much about that.
Yeah.
Hari kita buat.
Maria, Dad.
Maria.
Good night person on the screen.
Maria.
Maria.
He says Paul Maria as well.
Maria. Night, Dad.
Kakitisa.
Hey, boys are keen, bro. Boys are keen.
Wā moe. The tall one, his under 10s team is going down to Christchurch in a couple of months for the Kiwi League tournament under 10s.
Oh, wow, nice, bro. Oh, he'll love it. And Christchurch has always been a stronghold. You know, that whole, and it's not just the rugby, but I think it's Hornby, one of the clubs down there, and they've got a rich tradition. Frank Endicott's home, you know, and back in the day when he was coaching down there, and he was coaching Canterbury teams that were coming up and smashing Auckland, you know, and I was just like, mate, they so yeah, it's a good place to go, bro, you know, in regards to league tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, I'll just read this one out here from Samoan Metalhead. Yeah, I saw this as well. Latrell Mitchell throws punches to Harry Grant. Nothing happens. Nothing happens to Latrell Mitchell. To be fair, Latrell Mitchell is a pretty good rugby league player, though. So you know, got to take that into consideration. You know, when the referees, when the official, they go, oh well, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, look,
different game.
We're gonna carry on using this word all season, I think, which is inconsistencies. You know, I don't mind someone getting sent off for striking at the face, but you gotta send someone else off for striking at the face as well.
Yeah.
You know? So
and I mean, I think it was Dillon, and I thought Dillon was kind of milking it.
Me too.
I thought whatever. And then when they sent him off for the HIA, but then when you saw his jaw, I was like, oh wow, actually, he's taking a hit. Yeah. And actually, I was going to say too, bro, sometimes I think some of our players, more so the backs and the forwards, but some of our players tend to milk penalties, and it's like it's
not just our players. It's not just our players though.
Yeah.
It's something that the halves and the outside backs are starting to do, right? Well, been doing for a while.
Yeah. And it's oh mate, it's not a good look. Especially when it's the same players doing it week in, week out. And it's like, come on, man, just get up and play the ball. You know, fuck it.
I think Walker's done it a few times. Who else? I think Pulsey's done it a few times as well.
Yeah. Ed. Who else? There was a couple of names in there. I think Dylan's done it a couple of times. Chance, you know, and it's just like, the when it's on and you know you can get a penalty out of it, then yeah, God. But I will say,
just because they've tried to milk penalties doesn't mean they've actually got them.
Yeah, and that makes it worse because you know if they're trying to milk a penalty and the ref's like play on, it's like, bro, you've just killed whatever momentum we had, or just it's like that's what I mean. When it's on, then absolutely. But if it's a 50-50, but Dylan again, his was actually genuine. That you know when you saw that camera shot, and I was like, bro, his jaw's really swollen. And it's like, no, he's not faking it, bro. But no penalty either. You know, and it's just like, yeah, oh yeah.
I think we were quite lucky to have our captain back because he made 48 tackles, bro.
Yeah,
got a try assist.
Yep. Yeah. They those stats, like Tohu and Aiden made 35 tackles, and it's just like it's our forwards leading the way. You know, and I mean the team, and again, you don't want too much reliance on just a one player who just happens to be the captain. But he was leading the charge, bro. He was leading the charge. Sorry, bro. Interestingly enough, missed tackles. I looked up that stat, and Cleary had 8 missed tackles. Egan, Ale, and Ford. Egan missed 8. Ale missed 6, and Ford missed 6. So of the 4 names mentioned, 3 of them were our forwards. You know, they're our middles, and whether that was fatigue, because I'm surprised Egan had missed that many, because he's usually pretty sharp, and even Ford, you know. But again, is it because we played so many games in such a short window? hard to say. But I cracked up when I saw that Cleary had missed 8 because it was like, well, obviously their 9th tackle was on Joshy and he made sure not to miss it.
Well, I think one of Egan's missed tackles as well was a rampaging Spencer Lemieux.
Yeah.
Bro, no one's stopping that dude, bro. And he had Lussick and Egan to beat. So
and interesting,
dude's about 110 or something.
Yeah, but right up until he scored, because he scored by just running it straight. But a good 10, 15, even 20 minutes prior to that, the Panthers were just going sideways. They were looking for gaps, they were looking for runners, and no one was running it straight. Whether it was because Leo caught us on the back foot, we're right on our try line, and he just had a full steam ahead and backed himself. But those yards he covered, it was like, nah, they were never going to stop him, not from that far out. Yeah, it is what it is.
Straight after the game, and I've got to stop doing this. I've got to stop going on social media straight after the game because you get lunatics with all kinds of conspiracy theories. You got guys who are drunk, who can't even see the screen, let alone know what's going on.
Yeah.
But there were some people out there saying that Sean Johnson's had a terrible game, and I'm like,
no,
are we watching the same game, bro?
Yeah.
There was a few decision-making things. I think a few of his kicks weren't. His kick chase was on, for one thing. His kick chase was on.
Yeah.
I think a few of his kicks. I think he kicked one, didn't he? And like a win out on the full. I can't one of those kicks wasn't good, but overall it was good.
Yeah, and that second half, when he first took on the line and broke through, I think Chance was backing him up, but he didn't see him. He didn't see him on his inside. And it was probably just those little things, but he made 2 decent line breaks. And no, I think he actually played all right. His kicking game, with the exception of that one kick, his kick chase was on, bro. And he was not only setting those kicks up, he was making sure if they got the ball back, we were catching them in their own goal. So no, I thought Shawnee played as expected. He played well. But I mean, everyone's going to have an opinion on him, and I mean, there was even talk of the Tigers approaching him, whatever, in talks with him, and I read that. I read that, and part of me is like, you know what? He's because I actually thought once Metcalf is up and running, our halves would potentially be Metcalf and Te Maire. Moving forward. But the way Sean's playing at the moment, he's locked in that number 7. I wouldn't be taking him off, not the way he's playing. And but yeah, I mean, if he's in negotiations with the Tigers or whoever,
the way I see it at the moment, right? His stock has risen in the last 10 rounds. It's gone from whatever it was to just growing massively. So do we either cash in on him when his stock is high and get more than we would probably ever get for him because the stock is so high, or do we keep him on knowing that potentially next year he's not going to be as good, but then again he'll be able to train our Metcalf and Te Maire Martin. But at the same time, our CEO is a businessman, so I wouldn't be surprised that if Tigers do come with like he's not $1 million player. He's definitely not $1 million player. He's not up there. I don't even know what he's on. I think he might be on half a million at the moment. If they come in and say, well, we'll give you 8 for it, it'll be very difficult for that CEO to say no in putting my commercial hat on, because there's no guarantees that next year we could get half for him. Yeah. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think in the perfect world, it would be a whole lot harder for Sean to, if the Warriors were to make the 8 and then make the GF and win it, then it would be a whole lot harder for Shawnee to leave, because he'd be leaving a premiership winning team, and he'd be wanting to back it up. Part of me's like, yeah, bro, why wouldn't you? You've managed to, you've conquered Everest. but that's a pipe dream
That's
for now.
that's fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess from a business perspective, if it's in the club's best interest, but again, who knows how the next what is it, round 11 this week? Who knows how the next 15 rounds are going to roll out, 14, 15 rounds. And Shawnee, I think, behind a decent forward pack, and we do have a decent forward pack, I still think we're not as strong in our centres as we need to be. I think Montoya's doing a good job. And I will do a shout out to Pompey. He was doing the yards in the weekend, and I'm not a big fan of his, but what was that bloody stat?
I think a lot of people are eating their words about Pompey, bro, in the last couple of rounds, to be honest.
He post contact meters, he made 52, and it's just like, and the amount of hit ups he was doing, it's just like, no, the guy was pulling his weight. And Montoya was he was lining up Cleary all day. That first half, he rocked him and then he suspended him. But every time Montoya got the ball, he was making beelines for Cleary. And I think Cleary only got one decent hit on him. Oh no, actually it was that tackle when Montoya got the ball and Cleary was the only defender and he nailed him. But those sort of, I still think, our centers, we need a real solid, reliable, durable center.
We've got one coming in next year, bro. We've got RTS coming in next year.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's another reason why I think maybe Sean this is what, well, I don't think this. I think the whole fan club is waiting with bated breath to see what that team is going to look like with RTS and SJ in it. Whether SJ's got enough energy in him to be this SJ we see now, and then carry that on, because it's very difficult to keep this momentum going, right?
Yeah.
But also, just coming back to if Metcalf comes in, I'd like to see Webby go back to what he had, that 1-2 punch with Walker and
Jazz.
Coming in off the bench, but don't know how far away Jazz is of actually coming back.
Yeah, I think I had a look last night and it said TBC. So there's no clear indicator he's going to be back anytime soon. But that combination off the bench was they were wreaking havoc, and that was working really well for us. But even like Neokuri, Marata was like making his tackles and stuff, but even he had a quiet game. That was well below his how he usually plays. And again, if it's just the whole backing up, having to just grind through these 3 games and get through it, but because usually on defense he'll go hunting, and he just wasn't. It was almost like he was doing what he had to, making those tackles. I think he did make a one of the Panthers got his nose through the line, and Marata just got him, but there was I haven't seen him line someone up and fold them in the last 3 games, and it's like,
he has been a bit quiet, bro. When he came back, like you said, before we hit record, he's a workhorse. We've got a lot of workhorses in the team.
Absolutely.
But I hope he finds, kind of missing that spark, kind of missing that. Yeah.
I think, whether it's a mid-season slump, whether it's just that they're in the grind, but I think the hardest part was like thankfully we've just gone past our hardest part of the season. These last 3 games we're actually in a better place to be able to move forward with the squad that we've got. Hopefully with players coming back from injury, and I mean even Barnett was another one. Reading about potentially medical retirement, and it's just like, mate, if that's true, that's going to be, I feel for the bro, because he was, hopefully not, because like when he's on the field, he's one of those guys that makes a difference. He's just who's he like? He's like Steve Price. He just gets on with it. And does all the little things right, does his job, does everything that's expected of him. So yeah, hopefully, because it was like the website was saying, yeah, week 11, but he's meant to be going into a specialist this week, and who knows? Who knows?
Not looking good, bro. It's not looking
Mm.
good. But let's look to the future, bro, because the future is only on Friday. We
Yeah.
get it's such a tight little turnaround for this team.
Yeah.
Bulldogs have not had much luck. I haven't watched any of those games, and I actually want to go back and watch those games because they just scraped past the Dragons.
Mm.
They only just lost by one try last week in Magic Round. Sharks 13 points on, and then the Eels just pumped them.
Mm.
And while that was coming off a pumping from the Rabbitohs.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think I need to speak to a Bulldogs fan. Is there like injuries going on in this team, or what the hell's going on?
Yeah. To be quite honest, I haven't actually looked at their stats or how their teams are lining up. I did see some of the highlights, but I can't even remember who won that game in the weekend. Did the Doggies win, or did they go down?
Nah, lost by a try to the Raiders.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hmm.
I think the break for starters. From Saturday, so from Saturday night, I'd imagine our boys will be just having a huge sigh of relief, thinking, sweet, 6 days. Take our time, get back into the training side of it, sort out the injuries, niggly injuries, whatever. But Webby's on top of that stuff anyway. He knows his players and he knows the squad. Yeah, mate, I'd be highly surprised if we if we drop to the Doggies, it'll be like part of me would be like, mate, but then because I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, the Warriors of old were notorious for beating the teams they're not supposed to and then losing to you're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
So it's I think Friday's game, it'll be
8 p.m.
We should clean them up. Barring the whole whoever's coming back and our injured players. Yeah, if Metcalf's there, it'll be even the whole Metcalf thing. If he's playing, I'd definitely swap him out for Walker. I'd swap those.
I don't think he'll play. Webby won't play not a whole game. If Metcalf comes back, he's not going to put him in a whole game. I don't think he's there.
Even if he starts him from the bench.
Yeah.
And rotate him on.
Yeah. He'll give him 20 minutes or something. I've seen him do that with other players as well.
Yeah, because like, and I didn't get to watch many highlights, but Metcalf is definitely NRL material. So it's gonna be leading him into the team. And if he gets a lot of minutes, then that's good for us. Walker's probably been the fill-in, and
he's been solid. He's been solid. He just, he's not a creative, he's utility, right? He's not he's just there to do a job, and he's doing a phenomenal job, because who else would we have in there? He obviously wants to keep Volkman in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
I don't think Webby, trust is a big word, but I don't think Webby sees that it's right timing, I suppose, to bring Volkman in.
Yeah.
But he's been carving it up in that competition, as we've said, week in, week out. So it's gonna be a good match. I've got to come to you for a prediction, bro, because I know you're really good with the
bang on, bro, bang on. I'd say, I don't want to say comfortable, but I reckon we'll be anywhere between, we should be by at least between 6 and 8 points.
Okay.
They'll be up something like 2012.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah.
I think
this is when we did our picks just before Anzac round, and I had us, and those have all gone to crap, by the way, because I had us losing to Melbourne, winning to the Roosters, losing to the Panthers, and winning the Dogs. So I had us doing 2 of those 4 games, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a disaster if we lose this game. Can't see us losing, of course, but I've actually got us by at least 10 to 14 points, bro.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to be an easy one, but I just feel like we're going to go back to the Warriors of old, from a couple of weeks ago, where they're not going to be able to get through. We're going to have them figured out. They're going to run out of ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be comfortable, but we're going to make it hard for ourselves as well, because that's what we love to do. But I'm pretty confident with this one.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of the contentious calls, ref and the bunker blunders, if we could put all that stuff aside, the boys just get in there, get the job done, do what they've been doing, like those first 5-6 rounds, and yeah, we should get right on top of them. I'd be surprised if we don't. Yeah.
Let me ask a question to those guys out there. Jacko, anyone else who's in this chat, what do you guys reckon? What do you guys reckon of the score? Predictions for Friday, 8 p.m. It's a good time. It's a real good time.
Yeah, it is.
Think about going to a pub and watching that one. But Jacko here says Volkman is a 7. Webby tried him at 6 and said it was a mistake. Yeah, look, Shark Park, when he was on there, I was pretty excited to see what would happen, but I think he came off pretty quickly, eh?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Nah. I think he got him off there pretty quickly. I don't know who came in for him. I think he got him off there pretty quickly. So, anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say too. Not Warriors related, but Valance Tafari.
Oh, bro.
What a beast.
Bro, and when I was watching at the pub, and it was like, they kept on cutting to Bennett, right? He's just there having a fucking cup of tea or whatever in the bloody changing rooms, and there's massive beast there with Te Whare on his back. And I'm like, and the first thing I said was, oh, another one of our players gone overseas.
Yeah.
And then when I saw him, and I was just like, bro. And then, so everyone's been educating me, right? So Waikato played Union apparently.
Yeah, bro, only came over to league in the last year and a half or whatever to try and give it a go. Just saw the news interview yesterday, but the Aussies were talking about, because they've nicknamed him Valmaninga. It was kind of like, oh yeah, okay. But as a debut, and more so his first try than his second try, but that try that he scored, bro, and mate, he just destroyed the defense. He's 22 and just a young fella, and but that's Wayne Bennett as well. He when he spots talent, because he's the perfect guy to bring someone's true talents to the front, and as a league player, and he's the guy you want to be learning under. My only thing was, I was watching those highlights, I was thinking, far out, man, I hope he makes himself eligible for the Kiwis, because having him in our back line, it's just going to be.
Oh, bro, there was a haka. His whiner did a haka. There's only one team he's playing for, bro. There's only one team he's playing for, bro. Let's be honest.
It was a good sign, bro. It was just like,
that was a good sign. So and he's doing the haka as well. So he's brought up right. He's Waikato boy. When the Finns come to Mount Smart Stadium, that is going to be electric.
He's going to be a handful, bro.
He's going to be a handful.
I feel sorry for Montoya or Adam or whoever's marking him. Yeah, they're going to have a hard day, bro.
It's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, like he's just this, like physically, he's just this monster. And it's like, mate, I haven't seen a decent centre like that in years. For a long time. I thought it was a bit rich calling them, Valmaninga, but I mean, that's the Aussies. That's the Aussies trying to claim them for themselves kind of thing. And it's like, bro. But yeah, I seen the haka as well, and I just thought, bro, that's mean. The whole.
Yeah, bro, they can call him Kangaroo Jack for a week here, bro. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
He ain't going nowhere, bro.
Oh yeah, bro. But even seeing when they were doing the haka, I think it was Kenny Bromwich and I think Nikorima they jumped in as well, because they were right at the bottom, and I was just like, oh, mean, bro. Just so all the whānau up the back, couple of the Spins players were there, and it's just the Kiwi boys, and it's just like, bro, that's me.
Just on that note, how good is Nicarima playing?
Yeah, again,
Bro.
yeah,
bro. And again, that's probably that Bennett factor, right?
Yeah, I blame the coach. But that's who the man is. Big occasion, 900 games, first grade games.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, he's the master at like just coming in under, but getting his players in the right frame of mind for these big games. He don't talk about it, but he's talking about it in the sheds, and what they can do individually. And mate, who was it? One of them, I think it was his captain, lined up the Cornella standoff and just rocked him, man. Oh, what's his bloody name? Big Tongan fella. And he's been summoned a few times this year. But he came from the Storm. I forgot his bloody name. But he rocked him. He got a shot on him, and it's just like, bro. But that's Bennett. That's got Bennett's trademark all over it. He gets those players in the right mind frame, and they turn it on for him. I remember hearing that in regards to coaching, Bennett is more of a he's more of a he's the sort of coach that will sit down and talk to the players, gets real, just gets to know them, draws out the best of them, gets the right support around them, gets them to do what they can, believe in themselves, and then just execute it on the field. And he's more people.
You saw it.
Yeah.
You saw it, bro. And Jacko's right. Which is everything. Kafusi,
bro. He's been doing that all season, mate. Even Kafusi's grown an extra leg. It's like, mate, how many times did you do that for the Storm?
But everyone's thinking the same thing about Nicarima. You didn't play like that for us, and you're absolutely right. It's the coach. It's got to be the coach, right? Because he just sliced up those Sharks, bro.
Yeah.
I did think though that when they scored just before halftime, I think they scored 2 tries just before halftime. I thought, this is going to be the turning of the tide.
Yeah.
Wasn't.
And then they just the Finns just turned it on, man, and it's just like, holy, when they click, they just. But again, it's what Bennett's instilling in them, and they're all buying into it, and they're just going out there, not just winning, but they're having fun, and it's just like, mate, that in itself is a winning formula, get out there and just back yourself, right?
Look, I think Dolphins are playing finals footy this year if they keep on going like this, right? I think they're going to be definitely top 8 in their first
inaugural year.
Inaugural year. So it'll be interesting to see. But listen, man, up the wires, up the Warriors, up the wires, whatever you want to say. Wires, Warriors, I don't really care. Friday is just around the corner, but it seems like such a long way away. But where are you going to be watching it?
Good question, bro. I finish work 5 on Friday, so might be a bit of an early finish Friday actually, but might just go down the local. So the local pubs in Levin, they're all rugby stronghold. Yeah, I might
they might not show it.
Yeah, although there is a nice little cafe here that they do put rugby on, but they put Warriors games on as well. So I might go for a wander. Yeah, definitely park up, watch the game.
Cool, man. Let's keep in contact, eh? Let's keep in contact about the schools and everything. But up the wires. Thanks for coming on again, bro. Thanks for coming on again.
It is, bro. Thanks for
next time. Next time we'll suss out the Facebook thing, but Facebook didn't want to play tonight, so over here on YouTube World, Tenakui YouTube World, and bro, have an awesome evening, and I'll catch you up on the next one.
Go the fucking Warriors.